But I'm also joined by a senior lawyer, Swapnil Kothari, right now. Mr. Kothari, good afternoon. Thank you for taking our time and joining us over here at Mirror Now. We were in conversation with several activists and members of the LGBTQ plus community, and they are not really happy with the way the Supreme Court judgment went. Well, they were maintaining that now the ball is in the court of the government. Their fight isn't over. And there is a lot more that they will have to go through right now to battle it out when it comes to engaging with the legislatures and getting their due right as promised by the Supreme Court. But my areas of concern that I want to highlight, and probably you could provide clarification on it, is that the committee that has been promised, we do not know the composition of the committee. We do not have a time frame when it comes to it. And whether at all the findings of that committee is going to be up for a judicial review or not. These are the questions in the mind of the members from the LGBTQ plus community. Mr. Kothari, if you could go ahead and elaborate upon it.
You know what? As far as the judgment is concerned, it's a very, very positive judgment. As far as I am concerned, if you remember, there were the Vishaka guidelines for harassment, sexual harassment against women, which then paved way for the sexual harassment, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Against Women Act. Likewise, these are directions. The Chief Justice clearly pointed out that you've come under Article 32, which is a fundamental right, which is there for violation of fundamental rights. Under Article 32, we are empowered to issue orders, writs, directions. The Supreme Court has not issued guidelines, it has issued directions. It has come out very, very clearly and very emphatically, short of using the word marriage. It has used the word union several times. And especially the Chief Justice of India has given every single power, benefit, everything that a heterosexual couple will have, including declaring the CARA guideline as far as the adoption aspect was concerned unconstitutional. That even queer couples have the right to adopt, whether married or unmarried. It has said that privacy is Revel's Kutuswamy judgment, which is the right to privacy. It has said right to dignity and life under Article 21. Right
Mr. Kothari, if I can interject and provide a piece of information to your knowledge, is that the queer community, the queer couples have not really been granted a right to adoption, as it's a split verdict of 3-2. So even that adoption right really hasn't really fallen on the lap.
Well, let me point it out. I am fully aware of that aspect of the declaration of the unconstitutional part. What I'm trying to say is within the broad contours, whether it's 3-2 or 2-3, whether it's 4-0, as far as the entire tone and spirit of the judgment is concerned, even if you look at the 3-2 part, which is the adoptive right, what it says is that the committee which will be formed will look at that aspect and will have to include that part. Today it's 3-2, fair enough, in favor of the fact that they don't have the right to adopt. But the fact is that there is a right to union. There is no question about it. You can marry, just as Section 377 was decriminalized. That means homosexuality, you could cohabit with each other with a person of the same gender. What flows from that is obviously if a heterosexual couple can cohabit and then eventually marry, what stops a homosexual couple from doing the same? Now, technically, the Supreme Court did not want to tread a treacherous ground in the sense that it did not want to say that the right to marry is a fundamental right, because it isn't. Secondly, it did not want to put words into the Special Marriage Act, like saying that this means that people of the same gender or anything of that sort. It has left it to the wisdom of the legislature. Now, the concern of the homosexual community is that when is it going to be? There is no timeline. Let me tell you, if this doesn't happen within the next 4 or 5 months, if the committee doesn't come forward, I'm sure some activists will go up to the Supreme Court and say that what is happening? And the Supreme Court will say that, look, do it this because this was a direction of the Supreme Court. You don't set up a constitutional court of a 5-judge bench and come out with a long judgment and say that these are simple philosophical reflections of the court. These are directions which the government will have to follow. There is no two ways about it. And as far as the judicial review is concerned, or whatever the committee says, there is no two ways about it. That whatever the committee says, the committee cannot obviate the constitutional principles and say that, look, there may be guidelines, there may be directions of the Supreme Court, but according to us, this is what it has to be. You know, there is a 3-2 judgment against adoption. So we will say that, yes, that is the case. We will not allow them to adopt. So what are you going to say? That you will allow them to cohabit because 377 has been, decriminalized. The court has clearly said that there cannot be any interference on the right to union. The police will not interfere. There will be no complaints filed. There will be no harassment. You will give them insurance benefits. You will give them all the other benefits under the Succession Act, but you will not give them the right to adopt. What nonsense is that? So obviously this 3-2 judgment is only a technical aspect. As of now, it may be some sort of an impediment.
Okay.
But when the committee is formed, it is definitely going to look at the broad contours of the judgment, which are very, very clear. Let me tell you something. Short of declaring this to be a fundamental right and giving rights to the gay community, the Supreme Court has done everything possible to say, look at the prescription, look at the directions of the CJI in that, which is 3:2. As far as the adoptive
So what are you saying, that these are directions and not guidelines for the government, and that the government in the next 3 to 4 months, it's incumbent upon the government to act on these directions, ensure there is a committee and there is a way forward?